I think everybody aware of what is going on in India, especially this girl who was a Dalit girl was brutally murdered, and her tongue was cut, and her body was, mutilated, and she was struggling in the hospital for 2 weeks, and she was also not given proper medical treatment. The police refused to register FIR for some time, and even after her death, the police in Uttar Pradesh government, which is acting in a very fascist way, didn't even let some basic human rights, as letting the family perform their last rites. So we are stooped down to so low that they took her body and burned in the midnight, denying some of the anywhere in the world. This is just atrocious. So this type of situation, I mean, this happens time and again. I think just 2 days later, we saw 3 more things happen reported. I think we don't have all the details, but 3 more places again in Uttar Pradesh. So this is, unfortunately, so-called father of nation's birthday today, and the whole country is burning with this issue.
Jai Hind and good evening everybody. I can't imagine that we are standing here in 2020 talking about this heinous act. One thing prominently I would like to notice here, that the similar situation happened when the Nirbhaya was raped, and she was also suffered, and she also died. Just few months back in Andhra Pradesh also, one girl, she was raped and she was caught. But the way Indian people treated these 3 incidences, one during the Nirbhaya and during this Reddy girl from the Andhra Pradesh, and one from Hathras, is totally different. So it looks like the people's sensitivity also changes as per which caste this victim belongs to. And that is what is most disheartening thing in this. Means I wept when I heard about the Nirbhaya. I wept when I was listening to the Reddy girl, Dr. And now, but when we look at the social media or the media in India, we don't see the same type of response, and that is what one thinks very basically give me the sadness. And this is very disheartening that the Indian people doesn't care about the lives of the Dalit women or women from the underprivileged community. Just they want, means when this particular situation was going on, what the media was showing is everything about what is going on with the Sushant Rajput, what is going on with the drugs of all the Bollywood actors and actresses, and they didn't think it important to flash any news about this girl who was struggling for her life in the hospital. So that type of the sensitivity we have.
And I also want to reiterate that when the Nirbhaya case had happened, there were gatherings here, there was a gathering at the Trinity Church. There were hundreds of people. There were people crying. But, most of those people did not show up for such a ghastly, rape and murder by the state. I would like to remind myself and everyone that this is also the core of the state. The state violence is because the state is composed on a structure of Brahminism and patriarchy, and that is what is coming out. So they would not let go of either the girl or its family.
And we've had a lot of these sad moments. And for women, it really has been thousands of years. And the other connection I would like to make, it doesn't just happen in India, it's happening here. So what is it? What's the connection? Yes, we can say patriarchy, but there's a lot more. And here it's racism, there it's casteism. So I think we really need to try to imagine, first of all, a new kind of world in which we have to rid ourselves of this kind of quality that exists in us. How do we do that? And I think that conversation is so important for us because this continues. We see it every day, and all women are always on the margin of being careful where they are, what they do, who they're with, how they dress. So it's a continuous violence of a certain type. So I think we really need to, I can't leave it here by just being here and then going home.
The situation is so dire that while this 19-year-old who was working hard in the fields, the state that supports this completely Brahminical state, patriarchal state, where the police, the judiciary, and all the political establishment is day in, day out, so supporting the all the murderers. So there was an interview that just came out of this girl naming the people, naming exactly what, and that is, and we still have a state that has not started arresting. They have not started, and this is not a surprise. Like was said earlier, this has been happening on a quite a regular basis because the state itself is very Brahminical and patriarchal.
So when we look at violence, we have to look at violence from different intersections of marginalization and vulnerability where it hits. So this violence against this young teenager was not simply violence against this young teenager. We have to recognize that it was past violence. And unless we do that, we will not be able to do anything for that.
If something like this happened in Cuba, the U.S. would be on the verge of invading it. It's not on the verge of invading India. It's on the verge of actually hugging it. And so we in the United States must not forget that what happened in India is a reflection of what's happening here. Well, one thing I do want to say that I am extremely happy and glad that the union movement, to an extent, a few of the unions have responded and been in these large demonstrations in India about this incident. Because this is the only thing, as in the United States, that is going to stop this. That if they see the workers seeing that they're not going to tolerate these divisions anymore. They're not going to tolerate sexism and racism and xenophobia and caste.
I want to offer solidarity on behalf of the Boston South Asian Coalition, on behalf of the Indian American Muslim Council Boston, and on behalf of the Answer Coalition. As our other speakers already mentioned, right? This is a terrible atrocity, a terrible tragedy, but unfortunately a repeated tragedy in India. I also want to take a moment in remembrance of our sister Breonna Taylor here in America that was murdered with absolutely no justice, and all the missing and indigenous women that are murdered and brutally assaulted here in America. The issue in America, just as in India, right? The issue in America, we have white supremacy, we have patriarchy, we have a class society, right? In India, we have a terrible caste system, right, that has pervaded for thousands of years. We have the most toxic patriarchy, perhaps in the entire world. And we have, a near feudal class society. The only way that we're going to stop having these atrocities, stop having these tragedies, is by having community control of the police, is by having community control of healthcare, is by having community control of the judiciary. Because until the people that are most oppressed, that are most marginalized have the power in society, these things will not stop. They're built into the system. So the only way we can change it is by taking the power for ourselves. Thank you very much.
For being part of this oppressive, unequal and unjust society. I feel women everywhere in this world are dying because not of rapes and because of killings. They are dying because the society has yet not decided that woman is worth living or not. As Martin Luther King says, injustice anywhere is threat to justice everywhere. And we are part of that society. And introspection as well as conscientization. We conscious people or anyone who feels something for this, we have our duties not only to come here and stand in solidarity of these things, but go and conscientize those people who have failed to understand that they are human beings and who have been failing to understand that the people who live on the margins are human beings. I would conclude by saying that Dr. Ambedkar says, if you are going anywhere, the demon of caste is going to cross you. Be it US, Cisco case, or be such cases in India. We have to be very conscious that we have to be part of that anti-caste movement and annihilate caste as soon as possible. Thank you, Jai Bhim.
This is a very, very sad moment for everyone. Rape is not uncommon in India. It happens every day, every minute. So we need to show solidarity in support of stopping or abolishing rape culture in India. You won't be believed, even the parents of Manisha who got gang raped, they were not allowed to see their daughter's face last time. The doctor, the forensic doctor who gave the report, he was barred by the political leaders. He gave the report that Manisha was not gang raped. This is untrue. This is not true at all. So this will continue. So we need to act now. Otherwise these gang rapes will continue. So again, I would like to thank everyone who came here to have shown solidarity against gang rape. Thank you. Jai Bhim.
This is not an incident that has happened in isolation. I mean, after this, there have some 18 rapes that have happened in UP. 11 of the victims, of the 18 victims, are minors, and I mean, at least in this particular case, there is a law in place actually where you are not supposed to reveal the identity of the victim. And in this particular case, the spokesperson of BJP, the ruling party, himself revealed the name of the victim. He also revealed the video in which she had named a few accused. And immediately afterwards, that the entire threatening and everything started. I mean, I was here when I first heard about it. One of my friend, actually a journalist who works in Uttar Pradesh, she happened to record the incidents when the body was not handed over to the family. The family was locked in a house and they poured petrol on her body and burnt her. This definitely had happened to to burn the evidence by burning her body. And in fact, that moment I had said that they are going to change the post-mortem report, and that is exactly what happened. Now the post-mortem report says that there is no injury on her body. There is no sign of any injury on her body, when the doctor himself of Safdarjung Hospital, he himself had said that her spinal cord had broken at 3 places. But the post-mortem report does not mention that injury. This is not only patriarchal, this is extremely casteist that has happened, this incident, and the ideology behind the entire incidents and the number of rapes that have been happening. And these atrocities are happening not only in Uttar Pradesh but across the country. For there have been number of incidences in Gujarat. There have been number of incidences in Madhya Pradesh. And thankfully, the media, at least a few media houses and publications and channels have written against this. Thankfully, they took a stand at least in this particular case, and I always believe that it is the media's responsibility to tell the truth and shame the devil. At least in this case it is happening. Otherwise, there have been thousands of such incidences which never became a news. Thank you.